The fact that Anakin hated training with Master Yoda wasn't a secret, at least not to Obi-Wan. It had only been a year or so since Anakin left the streets of Mos Espa and ventured to the core worlds to begin his training at the Jedi Temple on Coruscant. And in that short time, Skywalker had suddenly surpassed most of the Padawans in the Order, some of whom had been training since shortly after birth. But as Kenobi tried his best to mirror the patient teaching style that his own master, Qui-gon Jinn, had often displayed, he was finding it easier said than done. Young Anakin was uniquely stubborn. Like many of the most powerful Jedi that came before him, a lot of techniques came easily to the young Padawan, but Anakin's attention span was only so long. Whenever he was faced with meditation classes or softer Force skills, he would often quit after only a few minutes of trying. Luckily, his own master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, quickly recognized Anakin's lack of patience, so he often tried to make his training as lively as possible. But when the Council assigned Kenobi dangerous missions on the far side of the galaxy, he was forced to leave Anakin behind, and in those periods, the teacher that would most often accept Skywalker was Grandmaster Yoda. And every time Anakin heard the news, he would let out a very deliberate, audible sigh. He hated training with Yoda. The Grand Master was one of the most powerful members in the Order, if not the most powerful, and perhaps its greatest duelist. With Anakin's own fascination with lightsaber combat at an all-time high, he should have been thrilled to spend a few days or weeks with Yoda. But there was a problem. Unfortunately for Anakin, he didn't usually receive one-on-one lightsaber instruction from the Form 4 Master. Instead, Skywalker was tossed into group classes with the rest of the younglings and forced to practice the softer skills of the Force: meditation, Force dexterity, and Force sense. But Anakin's lack of patience meant that he couldn't easily follow the classes. The material was too easy for him, and so he would let his mind wander, waiting for the hour hand on the clock to slowly tick by until he could go back to his own quarters. This frustration eventually prompted Kenobi to take Skywalker with him on all of his missions. In doing so, Anakin became the envy of all of his classmates as he quickly increased his Force powers through actual combat around the galaxy. But when we look at what Anakin said about Master Yoda, you have to wonder, did the Padawan hate Yoda's classes for another reason? Although Skywalker was unusually candid for a child, he was still just a youngling. He might have had a different reason for despising his training with Yoda and was just too nervous or afraid to mention it. But this period in Skywalker's life, where he had already grown to resent the Jedi Council, was definitely something that would develop further down the road. After all, they didn't want to allow him to begin his Jedi training due to their own arbitrary rules that they seemed to use at their own convenience, which really gives credence to the fact that Anakin felt the Jedi were holding him back, and partially why he blames them for not being able to save his mother. Perhaps Anakin saw Yoda as the representation of the entire Jedi establishment, a living manifestation of the organization that never wanted him to join in the first place. Whatever the case might have been, after only a short while in training, Anakin was free of Yoda's courses. His own master, Obi-Wan Kenobi, would take full control of his training until the end of the Clone Wars, when Skywalker would leave the Order once and for all, becoming Darth Vader. Thanks for watching today's video. Make sure to check me out on Spotify and all my other social media. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you, always.